Hey, Hawkeye fans, Chad Lysico, Tyler Tashman of the Des Moines Register. We've been here before, have we not? Trying to figure out a way to explain how Iowa won a game in the Big Ten West. Today they do it 13-10 against Nebraska with a walk-off field goal from a walk-on kicker that nobody knew about before maybe about an hour ago, Marshall Meeder. And Tyler, how do you explain this one?
I'm still trying to wrap my head around what we saw because that last less than a minute sequence was just absolute chaos because Deacon Hill throws the interception and you're thinking, oh, well, maybe they give Nebraska another chance to win the game. And then Ethan Hurkett, I mean, that was just massive play, comes up with the interception and Iowa gets the ball back. Leshawn Williams, that run was just massive that he had to get closer into to make it a more manageable field goal. And then Drew Stevens, who, he has been good this season, had the game winner against Northwestern, struggled against Nebraska. They go with Marshall Meeder, and I'm guessing we're going to get more into him, but he's just an incredible story, kind of the next unlikely story in what has been an unlikely season for Iowa. But he comes in, nails the game winner. It was like, I just don't know if you could – to me, it perfectly encapsulated Iowa's regular season. You have a kicker that hadn't attempted a single kick this season,
Right.
Coming into the game to attempt a potentially game-winning field goal. He actually told us post-game, like he entered the portal and was basically ready to just hang it up, like to be done playing football, and comes in, makes the kick. Iowa's, won 10 games in the regular season, 10-2. It's just been an absolute chaotic season, but it just what a way to finish the regular season.
Yeah, how about all the transfer portal stuff from the offseason comes full circle here with the two least discussed transfers, Deacon Hill and Marshall Meeder, coming up big. And then how about this? It also ties in the gambling story because Marshall Meeder would not be here if Aaron Blum hadn't bet the under on the 2021 Iowa State game. Aaron Blum, basically, done for football, for life because of that. And Iowa has to scramble just to get a backup kicker. And so that's why Marshall Meeder is here. As Dargan points out, his arrival came 12 days before the season opener. I know Tyler's writing more about him, so I don't want to spoil too much. But, yeah, he was a guy that didn't have any nibbles in the portal. He was going to move on with his life. And here he is kicking a 38-yard field goal. So many key moments to set that all up. As somebody said on Twitter, and I kind of loved it, an interception by Hill to set up the interception by Hurkett. It's like typical Iowa football. But how big is that holding penalty on Nebraska on the return, on the interception return? Because they would have been in field goal range, I think, because Iowa threw that pick in its own territory. That pushes them back to the 45, and the dominoes kind of fall from there. So 13-10. I still don't think Deacon Hill needed to go backwards 5 yards. It didn't seem like there was much room to spare on Mr. Meeder's kick, but you know what? It's par for the course for Iowa football. It had just enough to get over the bar.
And for the struggles that Drew Stevens had, Nebraska had that field goal in the fourth quarter that could have put them up 13-10. Missed that. That was also key, I guess, in sort of evening out the missed field goals for Iowa. But it's crazy to think it. And Kirk Ferentz, after the game, he ranted about the Minnesota game again at length. He was pretty clearly – and I felt like we had kind of moved on from that, but obviously he's been kind of stewing over it for a while. And after – he's probably feeling good after a win. So, he was letting his frustration out. But if Iowa wins the Minnesota game, and I hate to play like the what-if card – Iowa has one loss. They're in contention for the college football playoff. They basically just have to win. They would have to win the Big Ten title game to get there. Obviously, that's not where we're at. But, to a certain extent, it almost just feels like this Iowa team is it's almost just like a team of destiny. I tweeted this is like their cat with 9 lives. I don't know what life they're on, but apparently they still have some left. But it's they almost can do no wrong in terms of when it comes down to making winning football plays. And obviously they lose to Penn State and the loss to Minnesota, but it's almost unfathomable how they continue to come up with these, clutch plays. Because you look at the Northwestern game, Michigan State, Illinois, now this game, that's like 4 wins right there that just went down to the wire.
Yeah, and the offense with just 2 first downs in the second half, and one of them was on the Leishon Williams 22-yard run. I mean, how big was that? Deacon Hill basically saying the offensive line was like fired up when it was 10-10. They just wanted one more chance, and this was after Deacon Hill threw the interception. They just wanted like one chance. They were talking, just put us back on the field, either in overtime or now, and we're going to get it done. And Nebraska comes in with the nation's number 5 rush defense, and Leishon Williams runs it 22 yards from the 37 to the 15. Again, I don't think you needed to go back 5 yards to take a knee and center the kick. I think 2 yards would have been enough. But Deacon Hill said after he almost fell in the end zone over here, which, how about that, Tyler? I mean, is that Leishon Williams' biggest contribution today? 53-yarder, 22-yarder, but if he doesn't catch that random pitch in the end zone, that's a safety and maybe even a Nebraska touchdown with Deacon Hill throwing it up for grabs basically in the end zone. So good job by Leishon, who Kirk Ferentz keeps reminding us had one of the worst plays of the season against Michigan State, fumble 6 for them. But he's really Leishon deserves, I don't know, about if you gave out 5 game balls, he would definitely be in the top. 16 carries, 111 yards.
I feel like he's been like maybe one of the most pleasant surprises, not only on Iowa's offense, but in the entire team. Like everything that the offense has had to deal with, whether that be Cade's injury, Eric All, Luke Lachey, Caleb Johnson missing time, Jazz Patterson missing time. Leishon has kind of been that rock offensively. And I think coming into the season, not a whole lot of people would have necessarily expected that, because he was kind of overshadowed last season by what Caleb Johnson did as a freshman. And then there was an expectation coming into the season that Caleb Johnson would be, a breakout candidate for a few reasons that hasn't really transpired this season. But Leishon has been just such a pleasant surprise in terms of what he has brought to Iowa's offense, being that kind of consistent contributor. And then he did have that big mistake against Michigan State, but bounced back from that. I mean, if you look at, he almost basically won them the Wisconsin game by himself with that long touchdown run. But he's kind of packs a nice, he's not a big guy, but he packs a nice punch of speed and power. And, he said after the game, like, he credits the O-line for what he's done this season, but like, he also deserves credit for the toughness that he's shown, a veteran guy in the program, and really an offense that has badly needed someone to rely on. Like, he has kind of been that guy.
Let's talk a little bit about the decision to bench Drew Stevens. I mean, here's a guy that was, I think he was second team All-American last year by one service. He was, certainly, one of the better kickers in the Big Ten as a true freshman, had a great season, kicks the game winner 53 yards at Northwestern or at Wrigley Field, just 3 weeks ago, right, or 20 days ago. And, Kirk Ferentz makes the decision to sit him down after getting 2 field goals blocked in the first half. And then the last straw for him was a second kickoff that went out of bounds, which is a huge no-no. And Brian Ferentz and Drew Stevens were jawing toward the end of that first half as well. So I don't know what was said there exactly, but there was so much angst down there because the kicking game couldn't finish what the offense had done in that first half, which was, a lot of good things. They gained 200 yards. They got down there, inside the red zone twice and got no points out of those trips. I mean, you think about the field goal or the fumble recovery by Carson Shire off the punt right out of the gate, and no points out of that with the block kick. And then, the 53-yard run by Leishon turns into no points as well. So all in all, the under hits, Iowa wins, everything's normal.
It all evens out, I guess. But no, I mean, I thought Iowa's offense did some really good things in the first half. Deacon Hill looked like he was in a rhythm. Running game, O-line was doing enough. And if they want any shot in the Big Ten championship, and obviously the probability, regardless of who they play, is already pretty slim. if they want any shot, they have to be able to take advantage, of those opportunities to be able to cash in, get the field goal. Because even they had the turnover that they weren't able to turn into points. So, it was a very flawed performance. And part of the reason that I was even in the situation was part of their own doing, because they were up 10-0. And I think if you knew I would be up 10-0 in the first half, you probably feel pretty good about their chances. But just the offense kind of fell apart in the second half. And then also Caleb Brown left the game with the injury. Jennings Dunker in the first half left the game due to injury. So it's like, it almost felt like at a certain point is what I was dealt with like insurmountable. Like at what point are they just going to break? And it's probably going to happen at some point, but they made sure that today wasn't the day. So, but Dunker and Brown be interesting to see what their status is moving forward, because they've been, important parts to Iowa's offense. So.
Let's talk a little bit maybe about the defense. This was a really good rush defense effort. I mean, Chuba Purdy ends up being Nebraska's leading rusher, 12 carries for 42 yards. I believe Iowa had 2 sacks, but they weren't big yardage sacks. But Nebraska really did not get going in the run game ever. And this was a team that had run the ball really well as a squad this year. So, and then, like I said, 5th ranked rush defense in the country, and Iowa gains 163 yards on the ground on 40 carries against the Huskers. So, you like that. If you're the Hawkeyes, obviously not Deacon Hill's best day, but he gets into the end zone on the sneak. That proves to be Iowa's only touchdown of the day. Deacon 11 of 21. Or 11 of 28 for 94 yards. But what do you think about the defense? It seemed like Phil Parker was really throwing a lot of blitzes at Purdy and just trying to make something happen. And, they gave up the one big play, but they held them without points after it got to 10-10. You got to give them a lot of credit yet again.
Castro was flying around all over the place. He was all over the field, but It is, I feel like even more so today became apparent how much Iowa misses Cooper DeJean, because Deshaun Lee has been really good. Obviously started the 2 games in place of Jamari Harris to start the season. Then, kind of took a back seat, but now with Cooper getting hurt back into a bigger role, he got beat, pretty much flat out beat on that long touchdown. And I felt like we were kind of seeing Nebraska was able to make some of those explosive plays that Iowa really hasn't allowed that much this season. And for the most part, Iowa was keeping them in check, but there were some of those kind of ones that they broke free, in the passing game. And it's one story to do it against Nebraska. If they're facing Marvin Harrison Jr. In Indianapolis, that's a whole nother challenge. So I think Deshaun Lee, and again, I think he's done largely a really good job, but it's those little slip-ups that cause the major explosive plays that can really hurt you, because Iowa's defense in the first half was really good for 98% of the time, but that one slip-up was just major, and those are the type of things that, I think basically Iowa in the Big Ten championship, they'll have to play basically a perfect game to even probably have a chance to win. But at the same time, you just wonder, is Iowa, are they destined to just do something weird? Because this season has been so weird. There's been so many games that Iowa should not have lost or should not have won that they have. So you just wonder, Indianapolis could get weird. They'll probably lose, but you never know with this team.
3 20-plus plays for Nebraska totaled 113 yards. It was all in the passing game. And then outside of that, Nebraska gains only 151 on 55 plays. So defense really did it. And that's not with any big negative plays in there either. So the defense really did a good job outside of those. We'll definitely have time to talk about the Big Ten title game. But let's get into some 3-word headlines now, because Tyler does have to get moving. Your parents came to the game. That was nice of them. I hope they stayed warm.
Yeah, probably not, but I think they enjoyed it. And
yeah, I don't think so. Yeah,
it was freezing for it was Deacon Hill was like, this was by far the coldest game that he, as a kid from California, that he had played in. But entire offensive line going sleeveless. I was down there before, and I know you were down there before the game. I had gloves on, really couldn't feel my hands or fingers. So like it was cold. It was very cold.
All right, let's run through some 3-word headlines. Hawkerella with the first one here. Revenge served cold. Did you see the Hawkeye football tweet about the game with the trophy up? That was savage.
Well, no, what was it?
It was just it was kind of a doctored image, or not it showed right next to 396 consecutive sellouts.
Whoa.
It said like 7 straight seasons without a bowl. And then there was all these empty seats in the upper deck, kind of mocking the sellout streak. So
credit to you for using savage. That's you're fitting in some young person lingo in there. So that's very, very well done. That was properly used.
Appreciate that. My 13-year-old son helps me stay very moderately hip, but my 11-year-old still calls me cringe all the time. She says, "Dad, you're so cringe." Cody Hill's never a doubt. How about Pat Forty from the College Football Inquirer, national writer? He says, if we're being charitable, clutch backup kicker. If not, that was gross. So, it ended up being kind of what everyone expected, kind of a low-scoring game. Todd Bromwell-Camp, how about this? Next man win. I like that one. David Burge, Kinnick West Magic. That's 6 straight games for the Hawkeyes now to win in Memorial Stadium. That's pretty darn impressive. Kennington Smith did weigh in. I got to find his at some point. I retweeted it. We'll get to his at some point. Tavern Hawk. Who's Marshall Meeder? Any more to add on the Meeder story there, Tyler?
No, just other than, he's studying engineering, right, is what he was saying. And he was basically ready to hang it up. He was from Central Michigan, entered the portal, thought, was ready to be done with football. Then Iowa reached out, he didn't turn it down, and he didn't attempt to kick the entire season up to the very last play of this game. So
I like this one from Scott Murley. Pick, kick, win. Instead of pick, kick, win. I love that because that's exactly the sequence that happened there. Tyler Fortner, goodbye Big Ten West. Yes, this is the last official Big Ten West game that the Hawkeyes will play.
That was a fitting way to end it for Iowa.
For sure. Hawkeyes, he weighed in, and I gave him a little shout out on, even though it wasn't 3-word headline submission, but he said a dirty 10-2 is better than a purdy 5-7. I like
nice wordplay. Nice wordplay.
I like that. And I found Kennington Smith's. Okay, so he said should be 11. So it should be 11-1. Kirk Ferentz agrees. Who is 92? I like that one too. And he says Indy miracle possibility ? So that's. I'm not going to give much of a chance. We're going to watch the game tomorrow, but they're going to have to get some guys healthy. Dunker's got to be healthy. Caleb Brown's got to be healthy. Maybe Logan Jones gets healthy. It's going to take a miracle to stay close next week.
They're going to need to clean up the mistakes that they made today. They can't. Those little things aren't going to be allowed, the missed field goals, all that. They're basically going to have to play a perfect game for it to have a chance. So.
Last one here from Omaha, 402. We got to give an Omaha the chance to weigh in since this game was from Nebraska. No Bowl, Nebraska. So that is 7 straight without. That's crazy, isn't it? They had 4 chances to get to a bowl game under first-year coach Matt Rule, and they lost them all. 3 games by 3 points and another in overtime.
It's interesting to watch the discrepancy between Iowa and Nebraska, because it feels like these are the types of games that Iowa pulls a Houdini act and somehow wins, and then Nebraska just somehow manages to lose manages to blow that. I feel like that's kind of been the narrative for each program. Iowa, the margin of error is Iowa comes on the right side of it, Nebraska comes on the wrong side of it, and that proved to be true today.
Dargan tells us that Iowa is plus 1,200 on the money line against Michigan, plus 1,400 on the money line against Ohio State. So those are your odds in Vegas if you want to take Iowa straight up to win. The spreads are kind of like in the 22 range right now, but obviously the hypothetical matchups hasn't been set yet, and we'll get to watch that tomorrow at 11 a.m. Tyler, any final thoughts as I want to let you go because your folks are waiting for you, and I got to get writing too. And I got to drive back, and family's waiting for me. So we're going to keep it short. But any final thoughts on this was your first trip to Memorial Stadium. I've covered 6 of these in a row. I've covered 6 wins in a row for the Hawkeyes. This is your first. Any final thoughts?
It was, I thought it was a good atmosphere. I liked the stadium for the first time being here. Also just hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving, was able to spend time with friends, family, loved ones, be thankful and grateful for what you have. So just hope everyone is safe and doing well.
And the Hawkeye basketball team the men play at 5, the women, I think at 6:30. Hope I have that right. Hawkeyes against Seton Hall today, right?
Yep, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Coming off a really tough game against Oklahoma.
Yeah. We won't talk about that. We're going to talk about positive basketball stuff. And and Dargan is down in Florida, by the way, putting this podcast together for us. So thank you, Dargan. He messages that Iowa women are 36.5-point favorites against Indiana, Purdue, Fort Wayne today. I don't think Iowa men are as heavily favored against Seton Hall. But.
No, well, they went all the way down to Florida to play some team from Indiana. It's like they met in the Midwest, and then I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's logical. So.
On this holiday, we are thankful for you, our listeners, Hawk Central subscribers, followers, everybody who reads our work, who pays attention to us. We love doing this for you. We're thankful for you, and hope you enjoyed this podcast. Hope you enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend. For Tyler Tashman, Chad Leistikow saying so long